So in trading, look, there's some patterns not work for a while. Yeah, like first red days didn't work when all of the influx of traders come in. First red days stopped working, gap out. Like my system, I've had to change. So it's weird, like my system that worked very well in January, February, March, and April, and May, and June, in July, and August, I changed it maybe in September and October. I changed the system. If I carried on with that system, I'm losing big time. So you have to change your system sometimes.
Yeah.
Because situations change and context changes.
Welcome back to the SteadyTrade Podcast. Today it's Stephen Johnson and me, Kim Ann Curtin, and we're going to miss Tim. He's not with us today, but we have an exciting episode for you today. We're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of having been a professional poker player. Stephen's going to talk on that because if you guys recall, he used to be a professional poker player. I recently became friends with Ray from Confessions of a Market Maker. He too was a professional poker player, and he recommended a book to me that blew me away. So that is what today's topic is whether being a poker player and or being really familiar with some of the techniques that poker asks of us, if that contributes to be the success of you being a trader. So welcome to the SteadyTrade Podcast. Hello, Stephen Johnson.
No, and it's actually really good time on numerous levels because a lot of the top traders, or a lot of the good traders that I know, and I'll not name names, but we've all actually gone to a poker group. And we've been playing against each other. So like other good traders, as good at poker as they are at trading. I'll not tell you who won the first game we played against each other, but
who won? I want to know.
It was totally me.
Good job.
But to be honest, a lot of the guys are former poker players as well, which is a good entrance to the topic because like it's my experience to be a pro poker player, and I can get into it a bit, but a lot of these guys have been pro poker players, pro blackjack players, and to be honest, they've all got into trading either because poker was a bit too difficult or because they were getting thrown out of casinos. So it's a bit of both, right? So, but yeah, we all end up in day trading. I don't know why.
That is, well, I think I do know why, because I'm reading this book now called The Biggest Bluff by Maria Konnikova, and her subtitle is so powerful: How I Learned to Pay Attention, Master Myself, and Win. And as I've been reading this book, every single quote, I feel poker could be removed, trading could be put in its place, and it's the same.
It's probable gambling. You could take poker out and you could put probably blackjack in, but the thing is, with blackjack you're playing against the dealer, but with poker you're playing against people. With trading you're playing against people. If you're playing a multi-table poker tournament, you'll be on a table with 9 other people, but there's like, say the World Series of Poker, there's 100, 200, 300, 400 tables, all with 9 people. So you're playing against 5,000 people. And it's the same as trading. I don't know how many people are in a stock at one time, but you're playing against the masses, and you're having a calculated edge that you found playing with a system to get your edge rank. It's called. Yeah. Get your edge.
Yep. I mean, I think what she says that really hit me, that felt so much like trading, was she's like, you could have all the correct information. You could completely be following all the rules that you've learned. And yet if luck is not on your side that day, it could still go pear-shaped. So she's saying it's a combination of experience and, education, but luck as well. And the reason she wanted to learn this was she felt that was the closest to life. She felt, look, you can do everything right and still luck can be against you. And you can do everything wrong and luck could be with you and you turn out to have a win. So she felt this was the closest to the simulation of what she experiences in life. And that's why, she was a reporter, not a professional gamer, but she had Eric Seidel as her coach.
Yeah,
And
I know well, yeah. I know Eric Seidel.
Do you?
Yeah, for sure. Tall, thin
he
bald.
sounds like Yoda. He sounds like a Yoda character in this book. So
yeah,
do you think
famous player
that's
from
true?
the 90s, 80s. I mean, what do you mean by the closest thing to life? Is it, you mean by you can do your best and get unlucky, or you can do your best and get unlucky, and some people can cut corners and win, and other people can
Correct.
Work hard and not get it. Yeah.
Correct. She feels it's she said, in poker, yes, you have to know what you're doing, but you also have to be able to stay neutral in the midst of the loss and not take the losses personally or the wins personally. And that to me sounded just so much like what everything you and Tim Bohen have taught me.
No, trading and poker are pretty much identical, with just one kind of side path or side street, where the path to playing poker and the path to trading is that when in your first year, you are swung left and right and forward and back, because you don't know if what you're doing works or if you're just lucky. So you learn the wrong strategies because you get lucky, and that takes you down the wrong path. Now, the difference between trade and luck, and that's why it's tough. And then maybe after you've traded a year or 2 years, or you've played poker a year or 2 years, you like learn the system. You're like, this system works over time. And then it's just a case of managing your emotions and being like, don't give into this mistake, don't give into that. Put full bulletproof trust in your system. The difference between trading and poker is that with poker, you often don't, like, say 90% of the pots, you don't see the final hand, because there's a lot of bluffing, and 90%, 80% of pots, I don't know the exact number, they'll finish on the flop, the turn, or the river, or you'll not even see the flop. Whereas with trading, you see 100 examples and you think, I did the wrong thing there and I got away with it, because you see later on. But with poker, yes, you don't see.
Yeah. Do you feel that what was your approach with your own bluffing? How did you bluff?
It's a good question, because when I first started playing profitably in Newcastle, I'd started with like 20 quid, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, like $50. And I won a couple of tournaments just by, obviously I had a system. I'd worked out what people are doing. I'd saw enough hands, thinking with these cards, you win in this situation 70% of the time. And if you play these cards, you're going to bleed out your stack. You're going to lose all your chips slowly by chipping away. So I played a game where I was like, played really tight. I looked at everyone around us. I was like, all of these people are playing very loose. They're playing all of the hands. They're doing it as a recreational game. So if I play really tight and I only get into the best probabilities, the skill level is not good enough for me to be found out for playing too tight. And I'll just constantly be putting myself in on the 70, 80% chances, and I'll be getting paid because the guys aren't even watching what I'm doing. Then I made enough money. I started playing the cash game tables, and a sit and go tournament, you'll put £20 in, 100 people playing, the winner gets like £800, right? If you win. But everyone just puts £20 in. But then the cash games, every hand is played for money, and you bet money on every hand. And you're just playing 6 people, and it's the same 6 people. So they really know what you're doing. But the thing with the 6 people is, I would say you'd identify the 6 players around the table and say, this player, Chinese guy, Chinese business, former professional player, he's very smart. Try and avoid playing hands with him. The 2 guys to the right of him have come in and they're drunk. They've got nice shirts on, so they look like they've got money. They've bought them with £100. They've obviously got cash. These guys will probably just call anything that you put in front of them without taking it too seriously, because they're drunk and they're just going to be like, oh, I'm going to gamble.
Yeah.
Then you've got 4 players to the right of them who are younger kids. They don't look like they've got as much money. They're playing with £60. They're trying to grow it. And these guys, you're thinking, I can bluff you off most hands, because if you lose that money, you're going home, and you definitely don't want to go home, and you definitely don't want to lose that money. So I've got a specific strategy against every player. And going back to the question of bluffing, if I've got, poker is very position based. So if I'm sitting here and this person folded and this person folded, and the next three people who are left to play, if they're all these guys who are not going to call and say there's money in the pot, I'll just throw in £100, £200 bet. I've got no cards. I'm thinking you will never call. Like, and it's just calculating probability based on personality.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. It's so, I mean, I there's a part of me that's so excited about it that I'm like seriously thinking I want to learn how to play poker now.
It's an amazing game, but the internet poker and in-person poker is very different, because on the online poker, you get a lot of people who play a lot of tables, and they're completely playing statistics and probability, just like we do in the stock market. In the stock market, we say, I've tracked 300 of these setups, 87% of chance it'll work this time. People are playing poker the same way. They're like, this hand in this, with this number of players, it's got a 67% chance of winning if the flop shows this, the first three cards on the flop. So they just know. So online's very statistical, but in person is very, you play the player, which is what I was explaining when I analyzed for bluffs.
Did you like playing the player better than playing online?
Couldn't win online. I'm very good at reading people, and with sport, I have empathy, and I'm very in touch with emotional intelligence. It was the first thing you recognized about me.
Yes,
I can read people really, really, really well. I can see it on the face. I can see body language, and I can see facial posture, and I could read people incredibly well. I got to know personalities, the way people speak, how they say things, how they put the chips in.
Yep. Oh shoot, you just froze up on me a little. That's all right, but you're back.
Okay, we're back. The way people. Yeah, go on.
What do you feel it taught you that you've taken into your trading?
I sometimes think in the same language as poker. So being disciplined is being profitable. Mm-hmm. Not losing your head after a bad loss is the way to win. But also the most important thing is in poker, the position button is very important. So if you have position, there's a button that goes around. If you have position, you see what the other players do before you act. So you get free information to base your decision on. And with trading, a lot of the times when I'm looking at trades pre-market, I think, why don't you wait for everyone else to act before you act? So why don't you let the stock do what it needs to do? Mm-hmm. And then you have more information to then make a decision, because I don't lose anything by missing if I miss the stock, I miss the stock. Like if it makes the move and I miss it, I miss the move, but I don't lose by missing it.
Yes.
So it pays more sometimes to wait for more information.
Would you recommend to beginner traders, do you think I should learn poker before I spend time deeper studying trading?
No, I think the two, I mean, look, it's like Spanish and Portuguese. If you want to learn Spanish, you can switch over to speak Portuguese. You know what I mean? And you can understand each other. That's a really good analogy. Yeah, I keep it awesome. Randomly.
That's a really good one. But if you're going to be playing the markets, Kim, that's Portuguese. Don't learn Spanish.
No. Don't learn one to speak the other, honestly. They're both hard enough to learn in the first place.
Okay, good. I think one of the quotes I'm going to read you, because this one was one of my favorite ones. It says, "The wins really go to people's heads, and the losers, they can't deal. It's so easy to be delusional in this game." I jotted down, understand the dark side of variance first. That's the only time you'll actually learn to process your decision-making well, because when you're winning, it's too easy not to stop. It's just too easy to not stop and analyze your process. Why bother if things are going well? When it comes to learning, triumph is the real foe. It's disaster that's your teacher. It's disaster that brings objectivity, and it's the antidote and the greatest antidote to the greatest of delusions and overconfidence. Ultimately, both triumph and disasters are imposters. That Rudyard Kipling quote. They are the result. And that is subject to chance. One of them just happens to be a better teaching tool than the other.
Yeah, no, it's beautifully articulated. And it's well known. There's well known mantras in trading that are a bit shorter, and it's your wins lead to your biggest losses, and your biggest lessons are your best lessons.
Wow,
simple as that. And it's exactly the same as poker, but it's right. Like if what you're doing in the market is working, don't question it. keep doing it. But
Mhm.
when you get on a bit too much of a hot streak, and there's a sign of like, whoa, that ran away from us a bit too much, then you want to be like sized down, because the biggest losses always come from the biggest hot streaks.
Yeah.
And look, like, I've been in the game long enough in trading now, where the thing with trading is, the difference between trading and poker is, when in poker, when the card turns against you and you did everything right, and the final card turns against you and you lost, you can be like, that sucks and that's terrible luck. Like, fortunes are made on the turn of a card. But with trading, I'd like to think there are enough signs that are indicators to say that was a warning sign before that happened. So
to really see those warning signs, do you feel that it's the experience of being in there, or is it the studying and the
it's all the experience.
it's all the experience?
It's all experience. I mean, through 4 hours of winning and losing through trading, you just develop an intuition of, this is going to work and that's not. Studying, like I've always said, like, join the challenge, join StocksToTrade Pro. These courses are a year, and for me, look, there could be 2. I know the challenge has gone on to be lifetime recently. It's good that it's, if you do 2 years in the challenge, that's enough time to learn the basics. But at some point, you've got to cut that noose free, and you've got to find who you are as a trader and a person. And a lot of that comes from developing your own personality, right? Trading.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think, part of what at the beginning of the book, the woman is having these conversations with Seidel that are sort of around, it's almost like he's telling her a story and he wants her to understand the story. And that story, she's like, give me the specifics. I want the tactical. She's frustrated by the stories, if you will. But she's like, get me in the game. And then what she realizes is that all those stories ultimately are what is going to inform the tactical. And she understands later. And part of me, just my own journey with you guys and my own, I can hear myself. When I was reading her, I thought, I want more stories. I don't want the tactical yet, in a way, because I think I'm preparing myself emotionally for because I think I know it's such an emotional game that I'm wanting to prepare myself for that. So what would you say to a new trader who, similar to me, is probably, wanting to still gather information and not dive in the pool yet? I'm sure there's somebody out there like me.
You remind me of a girl called Hannah, and I met her at the Tim Sykes conference, and she went on to do really well, actually, at options. But I mean, look, you know my personality type, and my extreme nature, so I'm always going to say to dive in.
Yeah.
I'm always going to say jump in the pool and then figure out how to swim.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that. It's how I am by nature. But there's definitely value in reading around the subject a lot, and especially with the biographies of the other traders, because these kind of stories and experiences and wins and losses and they do psychologically prepare you to think you're okay, right? But also podcasts like this podcast, watching other traders' YouTube videos, seeing the real life experiences really prepare you to think, I'm not alone here, and I'm on the same path as others. So
yeah. And I honestly think even my experience just being in this conversation with you, Stephen and Tim, over this year, the things that I understand now, the nuance that I've picked up on, it's tremendous. I'm shocked at how much I understand that I didn't have the vocabulary for in the past. So, but then I also am afraid of don't get too full of yourself, take it into your trading and see if it's real, but honestly, I do think you're right. I think being exposed to the stories and also the personalities, that's also been very impactful for me. You do have such a different personality than Tim does. And, Tim Sykes and Grittani and, Kyle Williams, for example, or Matthew Monaco. Like when I look at their personalities, everybody's so unique to themselves.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
But I generally find with the best traders, from what I know, is the generally, I wouldn't say introverted, but quite quiet, little bit quiet, tiny bit shy, but very, very intelligent and educated. Like the real top ones, like if you think of, like you've spoke to a lot of them, if you think of like Roland, Kyle, Jack, Papa John, I don't think these guys are like, I'm a different personality. These guys aren't going to like shout out loud and be stupid and do something brash and uncharacteristic, where I will do that. And I think my personality type doesn't lend itself to be as a brilliant trader as quickly as theirs. I think there's something in that. I don't know what it is. I'm sure I'll go on and make money. And even for me, the way I see the market and the way I see trades and the intuition, when I'm in, like, say I chat with other traders and they're saying, I'm taking a bit of this, I'm taking a bit of that, I'm shorting this, I'm long this, I'll look at it and be like, yeah, you're not seeing that right. You're not seeing that right. And I know they're not. And be like, you misread that. And my intuition is at a higher level. Obviously, compare that to Jackson. Jack's intuition is way through the roof on mine, and that's why he's made nearly $1 million now. So
it's pretty amazing. Amazing.
It's a lifelong. Look, what I love about poker and what I love about trading is the lifelong quests to perfect them. Right? It's a lifelong discipline, and you're never going to stop learning.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely. The two things Seidel says to her in the book is some poker player who's had a lot of success is telling him about this particular pattern, and very confident, like, this always works, or this, and this, right? Yeah. And Seidel responds to him, question more, stay open-minded. And the guy does not take kindly to that comment. He gets very defensive. But she was saying, that's the heart of why he's been able to stay at the top and not kind of crumble over the years, is because he always questions more and he always stays open-minded. And I just wanted to ask you about that for yourself as a trader now. Do you feel that question more, stay open-minded is a good catchphrase for traders, for trading?
Do you know what? It's like 6 and 2 threes, because I mean, was it Dan Crosby what had on recently? Dan?
Yep.
His advice in his book was like, and he said it on the podcast, he's like, find a system, play it like a robot, never deviate. Automate. Find a system and just automate the hell out of it. And then I was reading some book by Mike Covell, I think it was Trend Following. And he was saying that the art of trend following is to never, ever break the system. Like the market will pull you psychologically to be like, this time it's different.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it shouldn't be different, because human behavior should never change.
Yeah.
So in trading, look, there's some patterns not work for a while. Yeah, like first red days didn't work when all of the influx of traders come in, first red days stopped working, gap out. Like my system, I've had to change. So it's weird. Like my system that worked very well in January, February, March, and April, and May, and June, in July, and August, I changed it maybe in September and October. I changed the system. If I carried on with that system, I'm losing big time. So you have to change your system sometimes.
Yeah.
Because situations change and context changes. So
well, that I think is right there, very key points. Context changes, and the global experience changes. So I think what I'm hearing you say is, find the system that works. Yes, automate it and stay true to it. But there always has to be this caveat, unless something else dramatic happens. Something else did dramatically happen. Of course, you would have to reassess.
But and the system works. You just have to change it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Works.
Yes, I do.
Just change it a little bit, and so that being the answer, then I think you have to always question everything, and you have to always like that's the answer in everything though. The best businessmen are the ones who, as listening to Jocko Willink, he's like first impression, someone was like, oh, musclehead.
Yeah.
Listen to him on Joe Rogan for 2-3 hours, and I was like, oh, this guy is very, very, very good at communicating. Very good leader, and he would always ask everyone else, like, what's your plan to go into battle? And I'm like, thank God, like, and it's the same as any manager should do. They should be like, guys, you're doing it. What's your plan? What do you want to do? And give them the authority and the autonomy, and then you might want to do this instead of that, and make a small tweak. But when they go into battle, they're not thinking, oh, Jocko's plan. They're going into battle thinking, we're going to do this and prove that our plan's the right plan.
Correct. The confidence and belief in oneself. And I think the word you used is the killer, is autonomy. We're very infrequently given autonomy by the culture, usually not by, the family of origin we come from. And we're also kind of taught to surrender to the leaders or to the experts, to the doctors, to the whomever. And I'm not saying there isn't a time and place for that, but just in my own experience, there's times where I went against the advice of the authorities, so to speak, because my heart and my intuition and everything inside of me thought, no, something doesn't feel right about this. But if I hadn't the confidence to listen to my own autonomy, I probably would have done what they said, and it would have been a debacle. But I think autonomy is really hard to access for some people.
I think that everyone is making up life as they go along, and anyone in a high level of autonomy or a high level of like stature, they're just doing the same but with a higher label. And like a GP can't know thousands of different diseases. You can see them in the surgery when you go in, like, you've got this, let us read the book and see what the guidance says on it. Like, can't be a master of everything, and often your intuition is right, and often listening to your body is the right thing to do. Like, often you know your own body better than they know your body.
Is GP a general practitioner?
Yeah, general practitioner, family doctor, whatever you call them.
You probably use GP instead of an MD. In the US, we'd probably say an MD, medical doctor.
MD.
That's the same thing, yeah.
But I mean, look, we've already talked about it, but like with mental health, like I remember it's different. You would go see doctors and they'd be like, oh, try this drug and then try this drug with it, and then try this drug and this drug and then try that drug with it. And I'm like, why are you making us take 4 different drugs? Like, do you know what I mean? This is crazy. I'm having crazy side effects. And then, do you know what I found worked best? Just sitting, closing my eyes and meditating and taking some cold showers, and it fixed everything. And I'm like, why you got us on all these drugs? Like, all I need to do is listen to my body and have some cold showers and I'm fine. Like, you know your body better than anyone with even 20 years experience as a doctor knows it.
Yeah. I think, it's like finding some middle road between being able to receive the input and then having to weigh out what you feel is good for you, but becoming, somebody who's committed then to your care and observing it and keeping track of it, especially for mental health, because there are those who are going to need those medications, everybody's going to be unique. Everybody's going to be unique.
Ultimately, the whole topic draws to the close around being a critical thinker. That's what you'd be a critical thinker in trading. You'd be a critical thinker in poker, and you'd be a critical and as a culture, US, Western, and British, we're kind of trained to be critical thinkers. Like, we're not our culture, because I've come from the Middle East, right? A lot of maybe, like, I'll not say specific cultures, but a lot of countries in that region can still be in the hierarchical structure that we were maybe in 30 or 40 years, where that's your boss, you do what he says and you don't question it. Absolutely. And to a degree, even probably in the West, the British police maybe will still be of that system. Like, you call me sir, or the army, you call me sir, you do what I say, you don't question it, which is why I'm so pleased to see Jocko Willink saying, guys, we're going into battle, what's your plan?
Yeah.
So even the hierarchical ranks are changing now, right?
Yeah, but he's a rare duck. Like he is. I don't think he represents the majority of kind of the average Joe in the military. I mean, he's, besides being a Navy SEAL, he's done so much work on himself. His ego isn't tangled up in that authority. He's a true leader because he's not coming from a place of power over. He's coming from power with. He knows empowering people is what leadership really does. But unfortunately, I think there are still a lot of people who don't have that distinction with regards to the military or regards to how to lead people.
But it's inbuilt in us as well, though. Like when people want to prove themselves, they will always be me, and I, and this is the right way, and I'm right. And when people grow in confidence and they've proven to themselves that they can do what they need or want to do, then all of a sudden the ego goes away because they've filled it, right? The ego goes away and they stop being like, all right, it's time to bring you up now, and I want to help you grow because I've already grown.
Yeah.
But you can be selfish when you haven't reached what you want.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because you're flailing around trying to just get your basic needs met. If you're drowning in the ocean and you don't have enough oxygen, it's hard for you to be in tune to somebody else drowning. You're just needing to get oxygen. So you can't focus on them and their needs because you don't have your basic needs met.
Yeah, but it's a shame. I wonder if there's a way of addressing that earlier. Maybe just educating people on the process. But that's why kids are self-centered, right? Because they only care about themselves because they've got so many different needs, and adults are not, because they're like, well, I've lived my life kind of thing. And now my life is through your life.
I would disagree, though, that adults are not. I think
adults are dead selfish.
A lot of adults are selfish, but it's because I do believe they're kind of self-involved because they're still starving and malnourished and don't have their basic needs met. They've settled, for their wants, and they're still feeling unsatisfied. So they go about, continuing to get their wants met, but getting your wants met is not the same as getting your needs met. It's radically different.
It's kind of, I don't think it's a flaw in the human race, but maybe it's a flaw in the human race that it's difficult to obtain, to get all your needs met, to be satisfied, because the whole point of surviving is growing, right? And the whole point of evolving is surviving and thriving and growing. So biologically wired to need to want more.
I think though,
but that to a degree, some people, many people.
I think it's just misinformation. Most people, I don't think, have ever been taught there's a difference between a want and a need. And I think even the needs that we have, freedom, self-expression, community, to see and be seen, for example, those are needs that sometimes by our culture we've made to feel ashamed for, especially men. Men have been made to, I've seen men be kind of culturally conditioned to think that they have to not have any needs because they're not a man if they have these needs. Yeah. And that, I think, puts them in a position of denying their own personal needs because they don't want to be perceived by the culture as not man enough. And I think that does such a disservice to guys. It's horrible.
I see that in the East. I don't know if it's in America or in some parts of America. I see that really in the east of the world. But I've been around the block in life a little bit, 33 now, been around a bit. And my conclusion is that you've just got to be good to yourself. And sometimes that means Goggins, got to do stuff that sucks to make yourself happy, because if you do a workout, if you do a meditation, if you do the cold shower, you're going to be walking around thinking, I feel good today. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't do it and you eat loads of chocolates and crisps and have a cheesy pizza, you're going to think I feel shit and I'm a loser. Exactly. It's about just treating yourself. What I do now, and we're way off topic, but what I do now is have a day for the ego and a day for the spirit. So if you have a day for the ego, awesome. You say, all right, you can have the pizza and have the beer. You like beer, Stephen. Have another beer. you love beer. Have another beer. Go and have another one after that. Do you know what I mean? Or you deserve that pizza. Just have the pizza. Put some extra cheese on it. I'll have one day like that, but the next day is a day for the spirit, which means meditation, or fast. Like today I've not ate. It's like 9 o'clock at night. I've not ate or drank anything but water. I'll give this day to my body, to prolong in my body, to regenerate in the cells, to enforce and discipline, to say no to the ego. Say, no, I'm not eating. Don't need to eat. This is for the body. This is for nurturing.
That sounds like a dopamine detox, which we talked about before we recorded today. That's awesome. A dopamine detox is when you don't allow the quick fix to be fed. And that's we're all dopamine addicts right now because of our phones, because of technology. Certainly traders are up against that. But what you're doing is you're taking, our ability to do kind of the boring tasks is what it sounds like you're doing. You're allowing your body to strengthen by seeing that you don't have to be a slave to those, because dopamine, the reason we get kind of hooked in the dopamine is that dopamine doesn't ever feel satisfied by eating the cheesy pizza or having the beer. The dopamine kick is the desire to. So the desire to keeps getting kind of back and back and back in that loop every time we listen to it.
But can I just tell you from experience, like I did like a 70-hour fast or something. Do more this time. Do you know what happens if you deny yourself the dopamine? You know what happens?
Tell me.
You get one big hit of it later on. I don't mean one big hit like I'm doing heroin.
It's like, no, but it's like a delayed satisfaction.
It builds. Like say, for example, I did like a 60-hour fast the other day. And I'm like, don't do the food, don't do the beer, do the exercise, do the meditation, don't do the things the ego wants. And then say I'm 50 hours in, I'll be going for a run, and life has never felt better, and my body has never felt better, and I've never felt happier.
Yeah.
So by denying the things that ultimately make you sad, you find the true happiness.
Yep, I'm with you, brother. It's beautifully said.
But it's tough.
Said. It is tough. It's going to ask a lot of discipline of you, and it's going to ask you to not go for that immediate dopamine hit. So good job. Good job. I think that's the kind of discipline that everything that I'm learning about poker potentially requires, and trading and life. Like discipline in life is pretty damn important.
Yeah, but do you know what happened to me trading as soon as I started fasting?
What?
Did a lot better.
Wow.
Did a lot better.
What do you feel is the direct correlation there?
Two things. My clarity of thinking is 2 to 3 times better on fast days. I was terrified of thinking if I haven't ate, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to lose loads of money. But guess who's speaking? It's the ego, right? The ego is like, you have to have this sandwich and you have to have the pizza. You'll not be able to think properly. If I deny what the ego wants, and I give me body and digestive system a break for one day, for what it's been doing 7 days a week for the last 25 years, tough job, it must be sick. If I give me digestive system just that day, it really thanks us for it. And it says, Stephen, I'm going to give you a ton of clarity because we don't need to focus on this shitty food. We're focusing on.
That's right.
Focusing on you today. We're focusing on you because we don't have to focus on that food. Mental clarity through the roof.
Remember Crosby said that the brain takes up 30% of our calorie intake. So what's happening is now, I think though, part of your brain, it's not working at, your whole system isn't digesting that food. It's all kind of being heightened. And let me just say this to our viewers, like, don't try this at home. Like you got, like he is doing this specific to listening to his body. Everybody has different conditions. Like you guys all have to figure this out for yourself. I can't go 70 hours without food for the most part. I've done Prolon, which is like fast mimicking, where I'm taking in some, calories that trick my body into thinking it's on a fast, but I'm still getting a little bit of nourishment. But everybody's going to be unique to themselves. So you've got to find your way. This is working for Stephen right now.
Yeah, but the other thing is the discipline. So I'm thinking I don't see any good trades, so why would I take one? And it's the same, like I've rationed food and somehow in parallel I've rationed trades.
Beautiful, Stephen. That is amazing. Congratulations. That is incredible. But who would have thought the correlation of not eating and trading
would come so hand in hand. But it's just discipline. It's ultimately
discipline.
just discipline.
Yep, exactly. Not being a slave to your body's, wants and
your
cravings. Yeah, that's it. That's what it is.
And just one more thing, when you tell your ego, no, I'm not having that sandwich. I'm not having that cheesy pizza with spicy chili on it, bit of pepperoni. You know what I mean? Not having it. When you tell your ego that, what happens when you start trading and thinks, I just want to make that money? Body says, you already said no to the food, so why are you going to say yes to that?
That's right. That's right. It's beautiful.
Magical.
Well done, man. Well done. I'm so happy for you.
Powerful,
so happy for you.
Powerful.
It's very powerful.
It
shows you how it shows how strong that once you start to develop that muscle, it becomes the muscle that guides your day-to-day trading, your day-to-day life. You see what you're capable of. How do you not then continue to accentuate that?
And exercise it, yeah. Because what do you want to imagine? You have to go to bed and lie in bed that night and think, you really let yourself down today. You don't want to do that. You really don't want to go down to bed and think, you really let yourself down today.
That's it. It's the word to ourselves. It's keeping our word to ourselves. And once you become a man or woman of your word to you, everything changes. I learned that through the Landmark Education course, where they were just so adamant about the word, that giving your word was everything.
To yourself.
And to yourself.
Yeah.
It's just game changing, because you don't do it because of that other person. Like I told my friend I'd be there at whatever time. Like, you're there because that is the word you've given to yourself. Yes, of course, your friend's involved, but the point is, it's more about you being a man or woman of your word, and doing that for ourselves with regards to the, discipline of eating a certain way, not drinking a certain way, trading a certain way. I think it's a game changer. You talked about Wim Hof, so I had one question about him. Are you also doing his, in addition to the cold shower rinse, are you doing the breathing technique?
I mean, to be honest, I was given a different breathing technique like months and months ago that worked really, really well. And I had the side effects of the tingling on the face, on the nose, on the cheeks, when your hands vibrate lightly. Had all the side effects that people who use this technique have used. But when I tried his technique, I didn't get the same powerful feeling. I felt like the technique that I'd been given was more spiritual for me, but like, there's no better feeling than having highly oxygenated blood, right? There's no better feeling in it. It's really easy to go into the cold shower, to feel the cold, and to withstand it. I don't know how. I don't know how your pH levels or whatever. I don't get how it works, but it works. Do you know or no?
I know what happens is that you slowly build. I think part of the cold shower forces you to go into the deeper breathing. I know what I'm doing, and I am definitely doing some deep breathing, because to withstand the cold, I mean, I have to kind of like breathe through it, because it's so, but I don't know physiologically what's being kicked up.
I mean, look, I mean, obviously we relate to each other now, because you live by the same principles that I live by, right? So what's your routine of like self-love? What's yours?
Mine honestly is the meditation and the connecting, to the spiritual.
How long are you meditating each day? What are you normally doing?
Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's longer. It isn't always just sitting in stillness and breathing. Sometimes it's journaling. Sometimes it's kind of just sitting and connecting to the divine, because I can feel that kind of a connection. But my other place for self-love is outrigger paddling, going out in the ocean in a 6-man canoe or a 1-man, which I don't own a 1-man, but I've been out on friends' 1-mans, to just be connected to nature. And the way, we have dolphins out there, manta rays and sharks, obviously. And just to somehow be out there reminds me that whatever challenges I have, how small they are compared to this vast, gorgeous, ocean and island and the mountains, looking back at that. Usually I'm out there in the morning, so the sun is coming up behind one of the 14,000 foot mountains. And it just keeps you like really kind of connected to what's important.
And if you ever have a dark night where you can see the stars and you can see quite deep into the universe, then that's a whole nother experience in itself, to feel like you're a very small part of a very vast
Correct.
thing, right?
Correct. We don't have any light pollution on this island because we have telescopes on top of that mountain.
Beautiful.
And so the gazing of stars here is the best in the world. So it's crystal. It's like looking at a planetarium. You know, when I was back in New York City, I'd go to the Hayden Planetarium to just see the stars. But now it's like, oh, I get to really see stars, not a planetarium.
No, but I mean, yeah, and you'll see them really well. But do you know when you know that you're connected? Like, for example, two experiences I had recently where I was like, I'm totally connected. I ran past a horse today and I looked at it lying. It was lying in the cold, kind of frosted ground, but it looked content. It was just lying down. And I just looked at it and I thought, look, you and me are the same brother. You and me are just the same brother. That was a funny experience that I had. And I thought, if I tell people that, they'll think I'm crazy.
I think it's beautiful.
A strong connection to this horse. I think you and me are just the same. And you're no better than me and I'm no better than you.
I'm with you.
And the other one was when I thought, I don't need to eat food ever again, because I'm just going to run in nature and feel the power of the sun for my energy source. That was the other thing that I thought, this is going crazy, but you get where I'm coming from, right?
I do. I mean, look, there are known gurus in India that are called air. How did they pronounce it? Like they eat the air. Like these gurus up in the mountains. I mean, they're meditating 24/7. But there are stories. You know, Yogananda talks about these. Yogananda wrote, you know, an amazing book about his journey as a teacher and a student. And he talks about those monks that are up in the mountains, you know, who live on divine sustenance, so to speak.
But nature is power, right? Like nature gives power.
Absolutely.
And this is where Wim Hof comes from. He said because Wim Hof lost his wife. His wife committed suicide, so it's pretty tragic.
Yeah.
And he read every book. He read every religious text. He read every self-help text. And he says, this can't be it. He says, it's got to be more. And it's this search that we all have. There's got to be more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one day when he got into the cold, he said, scientifically, I can't explain this, but I feel inside that this is right. And this is it. And he said, the cold is my God. He said something like that. The cold is my divine. The cold is my divine. And then later it was proven by science that what he was talking about wasn't lies. It was kind of the truth.
Exactly.
He felt it from within, eh?
Exactly. And that's, you know, Joseph Campbell's The Mythologist that really influenced my life so deeply. His Power of Myth series is on Amazon. You would absolutely love it, Stephen. You got to watch that one day. It's 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours. The Power of Myth, the best storytelling you'll ever hear. And he says, you know, that the whole journey of the hero is that you wind up kind of going outside of yourself, but ultimately at the end of that journey, it brings you back into yourself. And it's like you realize that, you know, it's really you, and that which you've been seeking is within, but you sometimes have to find it by kind of, and you know, you realize, you see within yourself that this is what it's about, that divinity, like that connection to that horse in that moment, or to nature.
Yeah, there's a common saying that you can travel around the world looking for it and then find it at home. You can travel the world looking for something and find it at home, and it never left you. And since I lived my life by that principle, I changed inside a lot. You're not going to find happiness externally. You're only going to find it within. And if you can find it within, you're going to radiate it, and that's going to make other people happy as well.
Correct.
So, like, for example, when I always tell my mom, she's like, did this book class and they all told us how good I was, and they all were praising us and telling us how good I was. It's like, that's brilliant, Ma. It's brilliant. And I'm glad that I had a good experience. But I want you to feel that internally you did a great job because you are good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and maybe I
do
say that better, but
yeah, I think it's beautiful though. You acknowledged her, and that's part of how she finds her way to seeing it for herself. But you know, we have to, like, everybody's got their journey, and like all the things that you're seeing right now for yourself, all of what you've gone through in the past, all the pain, all the struggle, all the suffering, all the longing or, aching, that is what facilitated you being able to be where you are today.
Yeah, I just think I just wasn't conscious. That's the only way I would put it. That's the best way I can put it. It's like,
well, none of us are conscious until we are. So but there's a waking up process. There's a stretching, a growing, and it's all perfect. Like it took you to today to see what you're seeing, but that's perfect because now you see what you see.
But the happiness is profound. Like when you run and connect with a horse and feel empowered through the nature. Like I'm not smoking weed or anything. This is how I feel normally.
Believe you. I believe you.
I mean, this is just a normal day. And hey, I get bad moments as well if I don't do the work. If I don't do the work, just straight back downhill.
Yes. We're hormonal creatures, and there's a lot happening within us. And if we are conscious of it and are doing things that support the best kind of internal physiology, that is going to go a long distance. And by eating well and by honoring your body's needing to defrag, it's like a defrag of the computer, I feel, fasting. It allows our body to kind of defrag. And that doctor that talks about the prolonged fast mimicking, he says when your body is fasting, your body's able to clear out a lot of the things that are no longer serving you. And that facilitates longevity. His book is called The Longevity Diet. And he talks about ways to, that the people who live a really long time are people who are learning how to do some intermittent fasting.
But do you think a tiger in the snow, or a tiger and it wakes up and it hunts and it has its family, like the tiger's not thinking forward and backwards. Tiger's not worrying about some problems. It's in the cold, which is good for its immunity and system, first of all. And it's just absolutely living in the moment. Every moment, it's living in the moment. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it thinks that other tiger really pissed us off yesterday. Like it might think that.
They do.
I don't know if they do. Right?
I don't think they do.
Oh, like that selfish tiger ate most of my food yesterday and now I'm hungry. I don't know if they think that.
I don't think they do. That's probably, in one way, that's probably wonderful for them, but it's also what sets us apart, right? So like there's a gift and a cross that comes with our the way our minds works, but it's also why we're at the top of the food chain. I mean, we are at the top of the food chain. So, but the point is, okay, how do I potentially follow what they are successful at, which is being in the moment? But they are also creatures that will tremor and tremble out any trauma, right? Human beings don't know how to do that. We swallow it. And that's part of why I think we numb as well. We numb so that we don't have to be with those hard to be with feelings. Whereas animals don't numb. They actually tremor and tremble out whatever that trauma is. They're in life and death situations every single day. And they will allow their physiology to experience it fully so they can discharge it and move on. We have not been taught to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the evolution that we've had is a gift and a curse in a way. You need to sometimes when you move and progress, really, like as humans, we've evolved extremely quickly. Sometimes when you go a bit too fast, you leave some little nuggets behind of like, oh, Ashley needed that, or I made that mistake. Go back, correct that mistake, and let's keep pushing forward.
Yes, perfect. I'm so happy for you. We probably should close this up, but this is like a long format Joe Rogan-esque type podcast today. Tim Bohen would be proud of us, I think, Stephen.
Yeah, no, he would. And we've covered a lot of really important points. And I'm sure whoever's listening or whoever comes to listen, because there's actually faces behind the numbers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of forget that. I've done this for 3 or 4 years now, and you forget that there's faces, which is why whoever's hitting us up on Instagram and whenever they hit us up, and I really like it, because I'm like, oh shit, you guys are, people are in it, like people are, you could be in a chip shop, you could be on the morning bus to school, and people are actually listening to that. It's
correct.
Really nice.
Correct.
But
and if anything, I think every person needs to see the humanity, your humanity, my humanity, like that we're people with our own struggles and challenges, and strivings to become the better version of ourselves. And we're just all in it together, just like you seeing that horse. Like every person that's watching us, like it's just like we're all in it together. We're all just trying to do the best we can with what we got, you know?
Yeah, no, and like that horse is looking at us like, "What's up, brother?" And I'm like,
Exactly.
"What's up, brother?" I'm like, you don't even need to say anything because you get life and I get life and we'll both get life together because the horse gets it, right? The horse is an animal. It's present. It doesn't have that thinking thing. So,
but it's got a soul. It's got a soul. I believe it's got a soul. I believe it's got consciousness.
It's pure though.
Yeah.
But our souls are almost not pure because we get derived and knocked unconscious by we're thinking. But once I get my clarity thinking, I'm like, I'm on your level now, brother. We're on the same level. We're now on the same level. I've cleaned my mind. I'm on your level. And it's pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet.
And that's what... Maybe the horse is like, I'm cold. I'm not happy, brother.
No,
but he didn't say that it was. He didn't say it.
He didn't. I think he was in connection with you. And I had that happen with a whale out on the ocean. That sense of connection. Yes. It was so close to us that I remember thinking, either this is how I die, or I will never forget this day for the rest of my life. But
tell us the story.
I remember thinking that even if I died, it was worth it. It was that profound. Yeah. It was like a religious experience. It was a young man who was sitting in front in seat one, started to do a Hawaiian chant, which was calling the whale towards us and our canoe. We were pretty far out on the ocean. And the whale, I swear, like a little puppy dog, responded to that chant. And I just remember like starting to shake because I don't know if you've ever seen a whale, but they're really big.
Yeah, they're really big. Yeah.
It's like the size of a school bus. And we're in this little like 6-man canoe, it's not that big, very skinny. And as he chanted this song, he was also rhythmically kind of pounding on the canoe. And this whale came, probably was within 12 feet of that canoe. And its eye, was looking up at us. It was like not on the top of the surface. It was just like part of its body was. And it was the energy off this whale was the energy I can only describe of pure consciousness, pure love. And that feeling of connection, it was just like, I am one with this whale is one with us. Like we are all interconnected. And it was just tears. I don't think there was a dry eye in the canoe. We just all were weeping because its energy was so crystal clean and pure. And there was no separation. That was the most profound thing. So when you said that about the horse, I was like, wow. I know what he's talking about.
Wow.
I know what he's talking about.
It's a beautiful story, by the way, and I wish I could have experienced it, but maybe there'll be more in time.
You'll come in Hawaii and you'll experience it because they come in December. They'll be flowing through Maui and our island. That's the channel where all the whales come and they have their babies here, and they have an escort that takes them down from up north so they can give birth here, get the calves ready to go, and then they go back.
But that story actually reminded me of saw it on Instagram, totally random, but a 15-year-old girl, she was with like 4 other girls. She dropped her mobile phone. These iPhones are waterproof these days, are quite waterproof. Little girl dropped her phone in the sea, like over a bridge. She's like, I've lost my iPhone. A dolphin passing by saw the phone, swam down, picked it up in its mouth, came back up to the shore, and then opened its mouth as the girl reached to pick the phone back out. And then as it picked the phone out, it just opened its mouth up to smile and opened its eyes out bright to be like, I've got you. Do you know what I mean?
I got totally.
How does the dolphin know that the mobile
because they have superior intelligence? We've experienced the dolphins out on that water when we are paddling, and there'll be 5 or 6 canoes, and the spinner dolphins will come and swim with us at the speed of our canoes, and they'll start jumping up and down like they're playing with us. We're all like they're playing with us as we're paddling, and it's like they're like, hey man, we're gonna like play with you guys as you guys are paddling. And it's the most incredible feeling because they are connecting with us.
But you'll have that
That's-
experience with the dolphins often, and they'll come often. Really?
Often. Yes.
That sounds
Yes.
so bad.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And you can hear them, the spinner dolphins they'll jump out of the water and they'll just spin and then go back down. Like they're just showing off. I mean, it feels like a bunch of 10-year-olds who are actually showing off. Like they're like, see what I can do? Look at my flip. Look at and you're just like, are you guys kidding me?
Yeah, but it's all
so
love.
beautiful.
It's all love and
It's all love.
positive energy, right?
It's all love and just joy. And, there's a story too of a couple of dolphins here who showed up when a shark was in, a surfer area. The dolphins will sometimes swim in and protect the surfer or the swimmer from the sharks. So yeah, the dolphins, they're just intellectual breed for sure, as are, I believe, the whales. For all the creatures out there, they are, you're in their world as opposed to thinking, I haven't gotten a diving class yet, but my friends are like, you have to do it because then you realize how big the planet is and how we're just a small part of, the ocean takes up the majority of this globe. So there's a whole nother world out there that we're just not experienced to or really connected to. And it's our loss, not theirs.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a spider doesn't have a soul. I don't know. Maybe spiders, they don't have good energy.
Some people, are not,
tough to find it.
I think spider would be easier. I read Anansi Boys by Neil Gaiman, which changed my whole relationship to spiders. I was used to be very afraid of spiders, but that book, he puts personality upon them. And all of a sudden now I see spiders totally different, by the way.
Okay.
It's an amazing book. It's a great fiction book, but I think it would be hard for me to put that on a cockroach. That would be a struggle for me.
Like I don't think cockroaches have got good energy, right? They're horrible little creatures and they don't help anyone. They just
that would be hard. I'm sure they help in some way to, getting rid of garbage and stuff. But
I mean, look, enough meditation, you can connect with anything, right? I mean,
exactly.
You're enlightened and you've reached nirvana when you connect with a cockroach. That's for sure.
Exactly. I guess I got a long way to go.
Me too. I'm nowhere near.
Oh, so good to connect to you on such a deep level today, Stephen. Thank you for this conversation.
No worries.
It started with poker and it's gone to enlightenment. I really love that. I think
I don't think me and you can have too many podcasts that don't end up in enlightenment, to be honest. It's a subject that we end on quite a lot.
Hopefully our viewers like that. We'll find out.
No, for sure. We'll see. And if they don't, they just need to meditate more.
Exactly. So thank you guys for coming today to the SteadyTrade podcast. And boy, we covered so much ground in this one. And if you guys have questions, for Stephen and I, especially around what Stephen's doing for himself, I know he'll answer those questions. You're probably best to hit him up on Twitter because he's always on Twitter, but you can certainly put comments in the comments box on YouTube. And then, gosh, usually what we say is we'll link to everything in the blog post.
That's impossible.
Maybe today that's not possible though.
No, but I'm happy on Twitter. I'm Junk87, JONK87.
There you go. Perfect. But thank you for the poker. I'm still a little intrigued by poker. I still might want to learn, but I will
play
probably
the game.
jump.
It's very good. You can play.
Yeah.
Play.
I've never learned.
For free, no cash.
Okay, good. All right, I'll try to learn it. Just sounds fascinating to me after reading that book. All right, well, we'll see you guys next time on the SteadyTrade podcast. Thank you for joining us for this deep conversation today. Aloha.